image sequence into a movie file, be it an animated GIF or an MP4 or similar, first of all, you need to make sure that your files are named appropriately. Now, this is a bit strange. It's got a number in there, but it's in the middle. It's got a name at the end, and it needs a little bit of sorting. So what, in an ideal world, these should be called is something short. So pencil I'll stick with because we've got some pencil texture here. I'm going to put an underscore, and then I'm going to put 2 zeros and a 1. Okay, the next image is going to be the same but with 002. The next image 003. You need to be careful that you don't miss out any numbers, otherwise it won't see it as a full sequence and you'll have a dropped frame in there. And also you need to make sure that they're exactly the same apart from that last digit. Otherwise, again, Photoshop and After Effects won't see it as a sequence. Now, this is all very faffy, so you can go through and you can name them all manually, or you can use Bridge. Bridge is a godsend when it comes to these sorts of things. So, let me find that file. Documents, there we go. So, I'm navigating around my files just like I would in my Finder, or similar with a PC if you're using one. 25th of March. And it was pencil, wasn't it? Okay, so here they are, my weirdly named files, and I want to rename them really nice and quickly in a nice, reliable image sequence. So I'm going to highlight all of those in the sequence. Now this is useful for 5 images, but you can imagine if you've got a folder full of hundreds of images, this is absolutely fantastic. So highlight all of them, then go up here to Tools and go to Batch Rename. Now, when you first open this, because I've used this before, it's remembered my settings from last time, it's possible that you've got a few other options here that might have date and time and stuff like on that. We don't want to have really complicated file names. We want it to be really simple and short, so that when we can see it in our document, especially in After Effects, when you've got it in your project pane, you need to be able to see at a glance exactly what it is that you need. So we want a piece of text. We don't want the date and time, so you just hit the minus here to get rid of that, and we don't need a second lot of text. So we're going to call that pencil underscore. I like an underscore because then it separates the number and it's really clear, especially from a distance. Sequence number, I'm going to start at number 1. It makes sense. To be honest, the sequence can start at any number. It doesn't matter as long as they are correlating, as long as they're sequential. That's the main thing. Okay, so you can see down here, current file name is that, and the new file name is going to be pencil underscore 0001. Okay, and that's obviously just the first file, because if I hit rename, it's renamed all of them as a lovely sequence. So let me just hide Bridge, don't need that anymore, and you can see in my Finder here that I've got my nice renamed files. I now go into Photoshop, okay, and I'm going to open those files. Now, it's important to remember that if you've got a sequence of images in Photoshop, it will know it's a sequence of images. If it's not a sequence of images, for example here, if I just click on one of those images, it's not necessarily going to know that it's a sequence. But if I click on this one here, it knows that it's a sequence, and I know that it knows it's a sequence because this is not grayed out. If I tick on the image sequence box, it will know that it's an image sequence. Now notice I'm not highlighting all of them. Look, that's grayed out as soon as I do that. I'm only selecting the first one. That doesn't mean that I'm only importing the first one. I'm importing the image sequence because Photoshop's smarter than that. So hit open. It's going to ask for a frame rate. With a texture like this, it's probably best to work in 2s. So if your movie, for instance, that you're working with is at 25 frames a second, then if you're working at a frame rate of 12.5 frames per second, then each of your images will be on the screen for 2 frames. That means that it's not going to be boiling too fast. It's not going to be like a fit-inducing boil. Okay, hit OK. And there it is. It's down there in our timeline. If you don't see the timeline, just go up to Window and choose Timeline here. Okay, so that's nice. I'm quite pleased with that. If you watch it and you think, oh, maybe that should go faster or that should go slower, you can always change the frame rate here. So in the timeline, on the right hand side, you choose this menu here and go to Set Timeline Frame Rate, and you can set that here. But I'm quite happy with that frame rate. Now, if I was going to export this as an animated GIF, then I would probably go straight ahead and do that now. This is quite a detailed image. I don't think it really lends itself to an animated GIF, and if I did export it as a GIF, I'd need it to be quite a detailed one, which would make quite a bulky file size and sort of defeats the point of an animated GIF, which is supposed to be quite short, it's quite small and quick to load. If I was doing something which was slightly more graphical, then I might here want to export it as a GIF. If I wanted to do that, I would go to File, Export, Save for Web, and choose here GIF. You know, not that I'd want to export this one as a GIF, but if I did, I probably want it to be a slightly more detailed one. But as we said earlier, it would be a little too large. So let's say, for argument's sake, that I want to export it at 32 colours. There we go, that would be my palette. Doesn't actually look too bad. Remember, image size. Now, if you've captured these images on a camera, they're going to be massive compared to like animation video resolution. So you don't really want to be exporting a GIF which is thousands and thousands of pixels. Firstly, you're not printing it, you know, it's just going to be screened on a little computer or a phone or something, so it doesn't need to be that big, and also it would take an age to load. So just make sure that you're saving it at a sensible size. This, just by coincidence, is saving out at 720p resolution, so it's 1280 by 720. So I guess I'm reasonably happy with that. If I was embedding it in a website, I might want to make it slightly smaller if it was going to be a thumbnail or something, but it all depends where your output is too. Notice as well here, you've got your looping options. If you want to loop it forever, make sure you've got that ticked. If you only want it to loop once, it would be a very short film in this case, but then you would just click once, okay? And once you're happy with all that, you hit save. And we'd save this out, preferably somewhere sensible so you can find it. Okay, so we've got this pencil GIF. Okay, right, so that's our GIF. Now if I wanted to save this out as a movie file, then I might want to have a little bit of a play here first. Firstly, if I save this out as a movie file, it would be 4 frames long. Sorry, 5 frames long. Still, it would be a very, very short movie. So, because you don't get the option to loop in sorry, my child's shouting. You don't get the option to loop in when you're exporting a movie file. So you probably want to duplicate this a few times. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to hit duplicate layer. Boom. And I'm going to do that a few times so that I've got this looping. There we go. That'll do. You might want to do it a few more. Bear in mind, if you're going to take this into Premiere Pro or into After Effects or something after you've exported it, then you can always set it to loop there as well. It just won't be irritatingly small when you do take it in if you repeat that a few times. Right, so this time I'm going to go to Export and Render Video this time, and we're going to export it using Media Encoder. Well, firstly, let's start at the top. Let's give it a decent name. So pencil, select folder. Make sure you do this because it will remember the last folder you saved to when you were rendering a video, not the last folder that you saved to when you were saving anything else out. So sometimes it will put it somewhere completely random that you've forgotten about. So make sure you select your folder 1st is gone, 25th of March. Okay. Okay, media encoder, format H.264. High quality, that's fine. Document size. Now I'm going to go for, in this instance, because I know that it's 720p, I'm going to go for 720p there. If you want it to be full HD, you might like to choose 1080p, but there's absolutely no point in me exporting out as 1080p because it's much smaller than that and I wouldn't be gaining anything. It would just be making a larger file for no reason. Okay, so once you're happy with that, you hit render and you'll have an MP4 of your texture.